Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Chosen Wisdom and it is Chosen Wisdom Football. Manchester United have just drawn with Fiorentina 1-1 at Old Trafford, beating them 5-4 on penalties. And here is your tactical breakdown of the game. Without further ado, people, let's go. Now, first thing is first, people, let's establish the team structure and the team formation that we played in today. Now, as you can see on screen, we essentially played our typical 3-4-2-1 formation. Nothing new here to see. However, we did not play with an out-and-out striker. We played with the three number 10s up front. Yes, Cunha on the left, Mbeumo on the right of the 10 position, and Mason Mount, mostly Mason Mount, holding the striker position. Of course, we did get interchanging positions. We did get Cunha occupying the striker position. We got Mbeumo sometimes occupying the striker position. In today's game, similar to the previous game, we had a somewhat fluid front three system. And as I said before, at this stage of Manchester United's development, a fluid front three system is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing if you're trying to develop relationships and you're trying to build cohesion. Building relationships and building cohesion depends on consistency. And you're not going to get consistency with a fluid front three at this stage of our development. So that's one thing that we have to understand going forward, people. Now, in reality, even though I did say we were playing the typical system the manager plays with a striker and two 10s, how we actually played this system in reality was more or less three 10s. Mount, Cunha and Mbeumo were kind of playing similar roles, similar positions, and in this game, I think it highlighted why we desperately need a striker. And that leads me perfectly to the main topics of today's analysis. First and foremost, I think the lack of cohesion and bad decision making in the final third really hampered us today. That's one of the first talking points of today's analysis. Secondly, we're going to talk about how we desperately need a striker to occupy certain positions that Mbeumo, Mount and Cunha don't naturally want to occupy, don't naturally want to run into. So today we're going to have a look at that too. One other point that I want to highlight today is Amad Diallo. Yes, I think Amad had a decent game today, but I also think the fact that he didn't hold the width as much as Dorgu did hampered us today also. We're going to also talk about the benefits and the drawbacks of having someone like Amad Diallo, a left-footed wing-back, play on the right-hand side. And also in today's session, we're going to touch on the fact that today we put in a lot of crosses. Mbeumo especially is known for his quality crosses. And also we have purchased a 6'5" striker. So what does that mean? What could we have in store? What could we be looking forward to, especially with the amount of crosses that we are putting in the box? And one thing that is clear, I think we can all agree on after watching this game as a fan base, is that compared to the Bournemouth, compared to the West Ham game, there was a general lack of intensity and a lack of pressing in this game today. Today's game actually was less intense than some of the previous games that we have played. So I don't know if the audience, you guys, are going to find that concerning or not. However, let's now talk about some of the bad decision making that occurred in today's game and how I believe with better cohesion, we can see a better team going forward. So in general, I believe we had some decent passages of play. Mount dropping deep, bouncing the ball off to Bruno, to Casemiro, Mbeumo also trying to link up with Amad. Cunha also interchanging with Mason Mount. There was a lot of dynamic movement in the front three. However, one of the main things that I took from the game was the lack of cohesion. Yes, we had Cunha running this way, we had Mount running that way. But when it mattered, people, the passes were either too slow, the passes were either too late. Some people would come short and receive it long. Some people would want it to go long but receive it short. There is a lack of understanding between the players, and the players haven't developed the necessary relationships between each other yet. Whether that is a problem for Amorim to tackle on the training ground, or whether the players simply just need more time with each other on the pitch to get used to the way that they play. Amad and Mbeumo definitely need more time together to understand each other's game. It is important that we develop relationships on the pitch between the players. Cohesion comes with time, it comes with repetition, guys. Now, here is a clip that clearly demonstrates the lack of cohesion and the bad decision making that occurred in today's game. Here is Brian Mbeumo with the ball, and he's about to make the right decision, in my opinion, to pass the ball to Amad, who is making the overlapping run. That is fine. I don't have an issue with that pass. I think a more difficult pass could be to Cunha or Bruno there, but I think the right pass is to Amad. However, in the next screenshot, as you can see, Amad drives the ball low. In my opinion, if he had his head up, if he was right-footed, and we're going to talk about why it is also beneficial to have a right-footed player play as a right wing-back. But if Amad was right-footed, he could have lifted that ball over to Cunha at the far post, and I believe that would have been a goal. That is just one example of decision-making, bad decision-making in the final third, in my opinion, that let us down today. We had plenty of opportunities to penetrate if the final pass, if the final ball was right. This is another screenshot. This time round, the ball has been laid back to Bruno, and you could argue he's in his right to try to shoot from this position. However, he could force the ball into Mbeumo right there, who could have laid it off to Cunha. He could have passed it to Cunha. Amad right here is about to make this run inside like that. Amad's about to make that run. He could clip the ball over to Amad. He could also clip the ball over to Dorgu. Bruno, decided to shoot. And like I said, you could argue he has a right to shoot. But once again, I've highlighted this clip to show the options, the choices available to our players. But often, especially today, we make the wrong decisions. In this clip, people, another example of bad decision making, a lack of cohesion, a lack of understanding of each other's game. Mbeumo has the ball here and he is driving infield. Once again, you could argue that he has every right to drift infield, shift the ball over to his left foot and to take a shot. However, as you can see here, Mason Mount is making this run. I believe and I strongly think that Mbeumo probably should have laid it off to Mason Mount there. Instead, he cuts inside, and as you can see from the next clip, he gets tackled. Mason Mount is there waiting for the ball. It doesn't arrive. Mbeumo gets tackled and we lose the ball. So in those three clips, people, we have seen that with just a split second quicker in the pass, better decision making, more cohesion in the final third, we could have done better and made better use of the opportunities when they were presented to us. Another aspect of the game I think we truly need to analyze is the fact that I think this game showed us and the Man United fans in general why we need a striker. The front three, the three number 10s, they are not natural strikers. The runs that they make and the positions that they occupy, the spaces that they occupy in today's game wasn't striker-like. It wasn't. And I think we desperately need a striker. Mason Mount probably dropped a bit too deep. In an ideal world, you want a striker playing here. And this is why Amorim needs a striker who's able to run the channels like this and stretch the game to give these two more space to operate. Now, I believe this is another great clip to highlight why we need a striker. The ball has been moved over to Dorgu's side. And as you can see, there is nobody on the edge of the defenders trying to make the run here. Both of these two players are way back between the lines. And these two players are holding hands. And in reality, there should be more space between these two. Ahmad and Mbeumo need to create better understanding and need to create a relationship so they're not occupying the same space. And in this clip, it really highlights the need for a hungry striker to be making the run here. And this clip is just a continuation of that same move. As you can see, the only person occupying this space, which is the space you want your striker to be in, is this defender. There's no one occupying the most important space, which is this space. And this is where, for me, Benjamin Sesko will come in. This is the importance of having an out-and-out striker. And in this clip, and I could analyze this clip in many other different ways, but once again, in this clip, I truly believe that if we had a striker, he would be level on the shoulder of these defenders getting ready to make this move here. These clips, in my opinion, highlight that although having a fluid front three system sounds good, should be good in practice, it's a nightmare for defenders in terms of marking, not knowing where players are going to be, are going to go, etc. From a standpoint of Manchester United, who are still new, still getting used to the way that we play, a fluid front three system is not the best way, I believe, to start the season, especially when the players are still getting used to the system in general. So this is where I believe a striker is needed. It's a must. And Sesko coming in, we just can't wait. We just can't wait. I think Sesko will be absolutely fine in this system, people. One other analytical point to talk about is Amad Diallo. I don't think he had the best of games today. He had an alright game, but not the best of games. And one of the reasons why I think he didn't have the best of games is because I still think Mbeumo and Amad are developing their relationship. There's also pros and cons of having someone like Amad who is left-footed play on the right side of the pitch. One of the pros is Amad's ability to come in field. He's left-footed, so he naturally wants to come in field. The benefit of having someone who is left-footed is Amad's ability to see the pitch, cut in on his left and link the play. Find Euro, find Bruno, find Mbeumo, find Mount. So that's one of the benefits of having a left-footed player play on the right-hand side. The drawback is Amad, for me in this game, needed to hold the width the same way Dorgu was holding the width. Unfortunately, he played a lot of his game in this channel here. Not really holding the width, coming infield, trying to link with Mbeumo, and it not working as well. While on the other side of the pitch, Dorgu was holding the width. While it helped us in terms of playing in the midfield, we needed more options out wide. We really did. So there are benefits and there are cons of playing a left-footed player on the right-hand side. I find this clip a good example of what I'm talking about in terms of Dorgu holding the width, and because he's holding the width, he's in space. And in this same clip, this movement, we've seen Mbeumo and Amad basically standing in the same space, which is not a good thing. You want to occupy different spaces. And neither of them are holding the width. And you could argue that in this passage of play, they have every right to tuck in, right? But I think this clip represents the issue perfectly. Ahmad was not holding the width, and neither was Mbeumo. The width we got from this game was really from the left-hand side, Dorgu. In this clip, we also see Dorgu on the left-hand side. Mbeumo, you could argue he's in decent position there, but it would also be good if we had someone here coming in on a far post as well. And in this last clip I'm about to talk about, he's actually holding the width in this clip. He's quite close to the touchline. He's in a decent position. My issue or my comment with regards to this passage of play is I was screaming out for Ahmad to just drive with the ball down here. If Ahmad was right-footed, he definitely would have driven. This space is open for him to just drive. I think if this space was on the left-hand side, I think Dorgu would have driven with the ball. However, what Ahmad does is slow down, stop, and then pass it back. Good. He's retained possession of the ball, but you'd like him. You'd really, really like Ahmad to just make a run there. So in general, I don't believe Ahmad played wide enough, and some of his decision-making in today's game wasn't really good enough. Ahmad's a good player. He's one of our better players, but everybody can be criticized. This is an analysis, so nobody is perfect, and we can analyze any aspect of today's game. I'm just showing you guys just some of the talking points, some of the analytical talking points of today's game. Not everything, guys. I could spend a lot of time talking about Casemiro, talking about the midfield and the issues that we also have in the center of the park, which is why I believe we desperately need someone like Carlos Baleba. I don't believe the midfield was the reason why we didn't score a goal today. We didn't score a goal from open play at all today, and I don't believe it was because of Casemiro and Bruno specifically. I think it was more to do with the lack of cohesion, the lack of understanding, and the relationships that haven't been formed yet at the front end of the pitch, which will take time. So the last thing really I want to mention is the abundance of crosses that have been put in today, especially by Bryan Mbeumo. We know that Bryan Mbeumo is one of the best crosses of the ball in the Premier League. He's put in, I think, the most amount of crosses and quality crosses as well. I think he's put in the most amount of crosses than anyone in the league or something along those lines. And I think that will continue. I think we will be putting a lot of crosses in the box. I think it was evident today. As you guys can see from this clip, this scenario happened multiple times, especially at corners where they will take it short. Ahmad will lay it back to Mbeumo and Mbeumo would cross the ball, as you can see from this clip. And I think with Benjamin Sesko being 6'5" and being a great leaper, a great jumper, I think we will score a few goals from corners, from set pieces, and of course from crosses. Don't be surprised, people, that we put in a lot of crosses into the box this season. So today we spoke about how we set up. We spoke about the need for a striker. We spoke about the lack of cohesion and decision making in the final third. We also analysed a bit of Ahmad's game today, his inability to stay out wide as a right wing back, the pros and cons of having a left-footed player play on the right-hand side. We also touched on the lack of intensity and pressing in our game, which was present, or should I say more present, in our previous friendlies. And just before we finish, I just want to touch on third man runs. I speak about third man runs often, and I think they are some of the most important passages of play movements that a team can play. Now, these screenshots will demonstrate perfectly why third man runs are needed, why a player needs to keep running even after releasing the ball, even if they believe they might not get the ball. This is why Dorgu is such an important player, and he's becoming more and more important all the time. His willingness to run off the ball, even without the ball, off the ball running. This is a perfect example of a third man run. Dorgu has just laid the ball off to Mason Mount. He's the third man here, but he's the first man to start the move. He's going to play it to Mason Mount. Mason Mount is going to give the ball to Amad Diallo here. Dorgu is going to continue his run and receive the ball from Amad. This is what I mean by a third man run. These runs are often hard to mark, hard to spot, hard to stop. Dorgu has continued his run. Unfortunately, the defender is tracking him and is staying with him. Listen, 10 years ago, that player might not have stayed with him. Players are fitter and more athletic and more switched on than they've ever been before. And in the final clip I'm about to show you, Amad makes the pass. Dorgu is about to run onto the ball. I think the referee blew for a foul in this move against Dorgu, but the point remains the same. This move that we just saw was a great move. I've highlighted and I've spoken about Mason Mount and Dorgu. I've spoken about the need to form relationships on the pitch. Mason Mount and Dorgu are quietly and very quickly establishing a relationship. Because Mason Mount is technically sound and he often makes the right decision, he's able to find Dorgu. So that's an example of a third man run and why we need to be making more third man runs. That was just some talking points. We didn't analyze the whole game. We could have spoken about the midfield, but I've just chosen and just selected just a few analytical points for us to sink our teeth in, for us to learn, for us to understand where we are and where we are going to be. I do believe Amorim has a lot to do. You can't just transform your front line, getting better players and expect there to be instant cohesion, instant beautiful playing, beautiful movements. That doesn't happen overnight. The manager has to keep going, keep practicing, keep training. Now that Sesko is here, we need repetition, repetition, repetition on the training ground in order to get that cohesion in the final third. And if it clicks, guys, if it clicks, we know the quality of these players that we have. We know how good they can be. So we just hope that Ruben Amorim and the coaching staff gets the combinations right, the combinations of players right, and the relationships also. So there you have it, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the game. Let me know your tactical analysis of today's game. Comment below, please, guys. Like, share, and subscribe. This is a new channel, a new video. I hope you like the content, and I will see you guys next time.